Hi everyone. I want to share my approach to creating a signet like this one. It's just a regular old signet, but it has this sort of inset paver cobblestone-ish look to it. And so I'm going to show you how to create the signet and then do the pattern layout and some other cool things. So let's get started. Okay. Okay, actually, I'm just going to slide this over. I'm going to get rid of these things. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to create the base signet, and then I'm going to do a few other parametric commands to create the curves for my cutter. So first you want to determine your ring rail. So here it is. 7 is fine. And then I'm going to use Signet Advanced. I'm going to make the same thing. So I'm just going to change this top profile to hexagon. And you do have quite a bit of flexibility in here, but this is fine for now. And now I'm going to create a planar curve that I can use in the dynamic project command to project a curve onto my outer surface to create my cutter. So from the top, from the front viewport, here we go, in wireframe. I'm actually going to make sure project is on for this and smart track also. Okay. So first, I'm just going to grab my ring rail and type offset, and 0.8 is good. I'm going to put these on light green. That's where I put all my random rhino stuff. Now I want to create a curve. I'm going to just turn end off here. That goes right across the top and is 0.8 below my the top of my signet. So I'm just going to type line. Both sides, actually, end is fine. I'm gonna do this and then hold shift. I'm gonna just grab this and type -0.8. Okay, now I want to create another line from here, and then I'm just gonna hover over quad and hold shift. And now I'm going to mirror this across the y-axis. And then one more line for the bottom. Okay, I'm going to turn this off now. And now I love this command so much. It's so useful, curve boolean. So I'm going to select all my light green curves, and then I want delete input all, and then I'm just going to right click, and then I'm just going to select inside the area where I want the curve to be created. And it sort of gives you this ghostly preview, and I'm going to right click to accept that. So now I have a curve that I can use in this project command. It's important that you use this project snap because it has to be a planar curve. Okay. So I'm going to select this one, right click, object, and then you just want to make sure in this drop down here that to front is selected. All right, so now I have a curve which is showing where my cutter will be. I'm not going to do this part parametrically, but you can still use this in the parametric workflow. Okay, so I'm just going to extract surface. You want to make sure that copy is on here. If copy is not on, you'll pull one of these surfaces off and then you will break your history on your signet. So copy yes is important. I'm going to just select this one, right click, and then I'm going to put this surface on light green. I'm going to turn yellow and green off here. And now I'm going to use my projected curve to just trim the excess off of this. So I'm going to type trim, cutting objects, and then I'm just going to grab these parts that are outside. Okay, and then finally I'm going to do offset surface. Whoop. I want this to be solid and on both sides and 0.5. So I'll just right click and then I'll bring my signet back, and I can still use this in a dynamic Boolean. This is obviously a Rhino object, so it won't auto hide when I use it in my dynamic workflow, but I have it on my green layer, which I use to hide all Rhino odds and ends, so I can maintain parametric history. Okay, so just use Boolean difference. I'm going to select my signet, then my cutter. That looks good. And now I'll just hide these. Don't need them anymore. Okay. So now I'm going to use AutoBase, even though I won't use SmartFlow in the end. AutoBase is a great way to get a nice quick canvas that represents your surface. I'm just going to go to Transform, AutoBase. Okay, I'm going to slide it down here and over here. Don't worry too much about the orientation of this. We can always wiggle that around. All right. Oop. Okay. And then before I go any further, I'm going to put myself on red, and then I want to, so here you can see that these pavers fit right inside this cutout. This surface represents sort of more or less a sweep too, using these two as the rails and then these four as the surface. So it's kind of like a cloak. And so if you were to put an object here, for example, it might, when you flow it, it may end up floating somewhere in this region that's not actually on the surface. So I want to see visually where my curves are on this surface. So I'm going to use the command create UV curve, and I'm going to select this surface and then just press enter. So now I have a visual guide, and I just want to move this actually to sit right on top of the canvas I have. So I'm going to snap to this point, and then I'm going to put it right here. Oop. Don't think I got that actually. Let's just make sure. Right to this point. Okay. Oh, I wanted those to be red. So I'm just going to change them to red. Okay. And this is in the way. All right. So the next thing, and sort of the final thing in creating this pattern, is to get your paver shapes. And I really like to use raster to vector because it's a super quick way of getting a lot of curves into your file quickly. Even if you don't maintain the history, it's just very efficient. So now it's going to point me to pick out an image, and these are just screen grabs that I took. Obviously you want to be mindful of whose art you're pirating, and you don't want to take anyone's art, but you can use it as a guide. So I'm going to select cobblestones. Okay, so let's go from the top. And I'm just going to scale this down so it's more approximately the size of the canvas. And then I'm going to smooth these curves manually in a different way, so I don't really need to worry too much about these parameters now. So I'm just going to right click to accept that. And I'm going to join all of these together, and I'm going to put them in pink. Whoop. Bah! Hang on a sec. Let's go back. I'm going to get rid of these first. Alright, I'm going to put these in pink, and I'm going to slide them down here. And I'm going to use bounding box to create a frame right around here. And now I can use my frame as a reference to snap these shapes to my canvas. So I'm going to move from one corner, and then I'm going to use scale. I'm going to use scale 1 2 times. So scale 1D. First I'm going to go this way. And it doesn't really matter if these are changing shape too much. Obviously, if it was something you want to be really precise about, you could take more care, but it's fine. Okay, so now I have my curves, and I can kind of roughly see where they're going to show up. These are obviously not going to show up. They're in that finger hole region. So I'm just going to get rid of these that are clearly not going to make it before I go any further. So I'm just going to put myself on pink. I'm going to lock green, yellow, and red. And now I'm just going to pull right to left in Windows Select. Oh, they're grouped still. So I'm going to ungroup. And I'm just going to pull this way and get rid of these that are clearly not going to make it in. I'm going to leave these for now. Ones like this that are just so marginally within the boundary of the pattern, you can get rid of those. And you know, these you can make a decision about later. So now I'm going to do the same thing over here. And you can go pretty quickly. This is a pretty easy to edit layout, so don't worry if you are overzealous. Whoops. You can make a lot of modifications. Okay. All right. And the next thing I'm going to do is just I'm going to group them again. And I'm going to rebuild these. Right now you can see they're kind of craggy, and if you put the points on, you can see there are a gazillion points, just too many points. So I'm going to rebuild. I'm just going to grab them all as a group. I'm going to type rebuild, and I'm going to make sure I make these sub-D friendly, and I want to delete input, and 10 or 8 or whatever is completely adequate. So I'm going to just press OK. And now you can see that those, all the cragginess is gone, and they're consistent, all 10 points each. So, and actually I'm going to ungroup one more time. I probably don't need to do all this grouping and ungrouping, but, and I'm just going to delete these little guys on the perimeter, which are just not worthy of including. Okay. All right. So now I want to make my pebbles. And as you recall, I created these curves. When I rebuilt them, I made them sub-D friendly. So I'm going to do the next couple of steps with my sub-D tools. And I have my toolbar docked here. I use sub-D a lot. It's just really easy to use and so fun. If you don't know where your toolbar is, you can always go to options and then toolbars, and then scroll down, and it's right here, and you can just select it, and then you can dock it, or you can use it temporarily or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to grab all these curves now, and if I extrude these, I'm going to create a bunch of sub-D extrusions, and I can do that just simply by clicking on this ball, and I'm going to make them 0.8. So now I have a whole bunch of these sub-D surfaces, and these are so fun to use. You can easily edit them. You just you can either use the selection filter, which I don't use very often. I usually just hold Control Shift, which you have to do if you want to select a face or an edge or a vertex. And you can just pull and push really easily to change the shape and modify sub-D objects. It's really fun. Okay, so now I'm gonna cap these. I want these to have, oh, I didn't get them all. Let's do that again. Right. I got so excited about sub-Ds. Okay, so now I'm gonna cap these, and from the right view, I'm going to hold Control Shift as I just demonstrated, and I'm gonna left to right window select just the very top edges here, and I'm going to also left window select the bottom, and now I'm going to use the fill sub-D hole command, and automatic is fine. Okay, so now we have a bunch of these capped objects. I'm going to just actually cell sub-D and put these in purple. I'm going to hide my paint curves. Okay, so these are great. Let's see how they look here. So they're very shiny and cool and pebbly, but they're a little too round. I want them to be more like have these crisper plateaus. So I'm just going to insert an edge and make them a little sharper. So let's do that from here, and I'm going to put it in box mode by pressing tab, and then I'm going to come up here to insert sub-D edge ring. So I'm going to right click. If I left click, it will insert a loop, and if I right click, it will do an edge. So I'm going to right click, and then it wants me to select an edge ring. So I'm going to hold Control Shift, and then I'm going to come from the right this time and just come right in the middle and grab this these vertical edges. And then I know now this is hard to see, but so then just right click and it will show you where your seam or your new edge is going to be. I'm going to put it near the top. Okay, and then I'm going to do that one more time. And put one at the bottom. Down here. Okay. So now if I press tab again, you can see that these are more, they have a more planar look to them, which is what I want. Okay, so now I'm going to flow these little purple guys onto my inset surface. I'm not going to use Smart Flow to do this. I experimented with that, and it's very labor intensive. It takes a long time, it takes a lot of memory, and it's not really agile enough, in my opinion, for this, what I'm doing now. So I'm just going to use regular flow along surface, and if you have record history on, it's a history enabled command, and so you can make a lot of changes and edits, and those will be reflected all the way along. So I'm going to type flow along surface. I'm going to select my purple objects and right click, and then my base surface. Oh, that's locked. And then my target surface. Okay. I've got the orientation of this yellow surface needs to be fixed up a little bit. So I'm going to do a few things. I'm just going to, from the right, I can see it's upside down. So, or at least my objects have flowed upside down. So a quick fix is just to spin this 180 degrees. Okay. And then obviously it's still not quite right. So I'm going to swivel it this way 180 degrees as well, and let's see where that gets us. Okay, that's a lot. closer. And these are sitting a little high, and you can change that just by lifting up the surface a little bit and intersecting it a bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right. And the cool thing is, and this is, I feel, where it's more agile than Smart Flow, you can edit these things on the fly, and you don't have to worry about deleting objects and breaking history. So like, for example, if I get rid of this, I can just, it's not going to affect you know, the history that is still maintained in this command. So I'm going to just do one other thing here. I'm going to create some blue spheres. I forgot to do this before, but I'm going to just do it right now. I'm going to, I don't want to F project on, and I'm not going to snap to anything. I'm going to just put these here for reference, because actually now that the surface is here, it's sometimes hard to tell what is what. So I'm going to just put these here, and then from perspective, I'm going to just make them a little more distinct and weird. Okay, this one I'll... Okay. And now I'm going to run the flow along surface command again. I'm going to just select my blue blobs and this, and then this. Oh. Nope. Let's hide these purple guys for a sec. Let's try that again. These, and this, and this. Okay. So now I can kind of, I have a reference. So I know that this area is this area, and so on. So if I want to make changes to any of these, the way that they're aligning, like for example, this seam point is a good place to make changes. Now I just have these stupid, these blobs to give me a sense of where I am. So maybe you don't need these, but I feel like I definitely need them. So I'm just going to change the orientation a little bit of these to make it seem just slightly more random and not quite as much like a seam. And I'm not going to spend too much time here because it's annoying to watch someone else do this kind of stuff, and also you can just do it on your own. But another cool thing is that, so these are sub Ds, remember, so there's still, if you make edits, you can make edits here. So like for example, I see over here this one is all messed up. It's kind of like its edges and faces are all tucked in on itself. So I can just come over here and make some edits to this quickly. I can just maybe, I'm holding Control Shift here, and I'm just gonna quickly see if I can improve this. Maybe I'll go in wireframe here. Or ghosted. As I said, I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but I think the point I'm making is that this is a very editable surface. Like, I'm sure you could put a stone-like mesh on the exterior of this, or in this inset region, and that's probably quicker and a smaller file. But what I really like is about this process is that you can change things up to the end, and it's very flexible. And also you can just delete things straight from here that aren't working. So like if I decide I don't want, I don't know, this one, I can just take it out and it's not a problem. It haven't broken history. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do any more editing on this, but the final step, which is cool, is you can just come up here to manufacturing, use mesh repair, and then grab the whole thing. And then this takes a minute, but it should work. So it's not completely like a little parametric machine, but if you leave this alone, if you have to come back and edit it, it's very flexible, and you know, you could put any number of shapes on this canvas and it would work really well. I find especially if you have to put like an element on a shank and you need it to look a little more molded, you creating it as a sub D or even using quad remesh to change a poly surface into a sub D will allow you to get these kind of smooth edges without having to use anything annoying like fillets or whatever. And then sub Ds are like, they're sort of like single surfaces in that you can just continue editing and editing and editing. There's kind of no end to that. So anyway, that is my version of a kind of pebbly texture on a signet, and I hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching.